UFC Fight Night Saudi Arabia, Whittaker versus Aliskerov takes place this weekend, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my prediction and breakdown for every single fight on the card, starting with the early prelim opener of Long Zhao versus Chang Ho Li. Holy moly, this is a great fight. I'm going to go with Chang Ho Li. I'm going to pick him to win by finish, by TKO. I think Long Zhao is just not the same level of prospect as Chang Ho Li. He hasn't fought the same level of competition. He's fought lesser competition and made tougher work out of it as well. Chang Ho Li seems a bit more of a promising prospect, seeing as he hasn't had to go through all of the trials and tribulations of being fraud checked a few times in his regional career. He's lost one fight to a fighter who was 3-0. That guy was at Brave Fighting, went on to become now 6-1. So he's not some schmuck, and he lost that fight by decision. Other than that, though, the guy's got good ground and pound, good positioning on top, some submission skills, but his ground game's pretty good and he gets into dominant position and wins. I like it when a guy has a consistent method of victory because it shows that he's forcing his way into that position. He's not just, a head kick this time and a big punch this other time, and this other time I ground and pounded someone. No, it seems to be a method that's very, very frequent in his career. And for his opponent, Long Zhao, first of all, this fight's been rescheduled since, December? So this is like their third time trying to make this fight. But this guy went to a split with a 10-3 opponent. You know what I mean? He lost to Christian Quinones on the Contender Series. That's not a great look. We know that Christian Quinones ain't ever going to be shit. You know what I mean? We know that. But we don't know if Chang Ho Li is never going to be shit. So we know the limit, in my opinion, of Long Zhao. We don't know where the roof of the career is of Chang Ho Li. So I'm going to go with Chang Ho Li with a second round ground and pound TKO is what I'm going to say. We move on. Up the card to another fight, which is Sedrique Dumas versus Denis Tuiluilin. Now a silly one. I'm going with Denis Tuiluilin over Sedrique Dumas. I reckon he can get it done. I reckon he can grit down, find his way on the inside and start working up against the cage a little bit. I just think he's going to be a little bit more disciplined if this fight goes into the later rounds. We heard a story of, I was high during my last fight and I didn't really take it serious during this of Sedrique Dumas. So maybe he will end up winning. Maybe I should value his win over Abu Azaitar. I don't really rate Abu Azaitar at all. I also do not rate Cody Brundage in that fight that he had against Sedrique Dumas. If you think he held down Cody Brundage, he's going to be able to hold down Denis Tuiluilin. It's kind of like, okay, he got dominant position over Cody Brundage, but what Cody Brundage was it? Because if you remember watching that fight, dude was literally just accepting defeat in that fight. He tried nothing to better himself or any of his positions in that fight against Sedrique Dumas, and then just lost the fight by decision. So I don't know how much to rate that. I think Tuiluilin will be gritting down. He will be going for it. He'll be trying everything it takes to win. I know he's coming off of 2 back-to-back TKOs, and listen, he's had some problems throughout his career on the ground. I just think this time, I don't think Sedrique Dumas is going to exploit him on the ground. I mean, you're looking at a guy in Denis Tuiluilin here who, fair enough, at middleweight, he got choked out by Yun Yong Park, and Rodriguez elbowed him in the back of the head illegally a bunch of times and finished him because of that. And then C-Rod beat the hell out of him. And I mean, Christian Leroy Duncan, not Christian Rodriguez. I don't know why I said that. But Christian Leroy Duncan beat the hell out of him. But I think CLD is going to be a legitimate top contender. I don't think that of Sedrique Dumas. So I'm actually going to go with Denis Tuiluilin. I think Sedrique Dumas ain't far off a Jamie Pickett level of middleweight. So I'm going to say that Denis Tuiluilin is going to have a good battle. Thank you for great battle, Dumas. I'm going to go with Denis Tuiluilin. Dude went to the third round with Ikram Aliskerov before getting submitted. So I think it's pretty disingenuous just to say, okay, well, in his last fight, he got exposed. Or in his fight against Yun Yong Park, his ground game got exposed. So therefore, he's going to lose. Or against Alishkav Kizrayev, he did okay, but then eventually got rear naked choked. I'm not willing to put Dumas in that bracket yet of people that are just going to be able to smush him and submit him. So if he can grit into this fight and he can make it out of the first round and he can make this into a bit of a scrap, I truly believe Denis Tuiluilin is He's applied himself more to martial arts. You know what I'm saying? I think he's got more of a warrior's mindset for it. I know he's got an ugly-ass record, and this might be a really dumb prediction. I just don't really see what Dumas does well, but sometimes when Denis Tuiluilin has these moments, I'm like, damn, he actually looks kind of good here. You know, in certain moments against Kizraev, I was like, okay, this is actually kind of a good fighter here that we got. But, oh, well, he lost. You know, he got rear naked choked. I just don't think that Sedrique Dumas is going to be able to submit him in the first round. And I think if he doesn't do that, I don't see him winning a decision all throughout the fight. I trust in Tuiluilin to make this a bit of a scrap. And if he does, I think he wins. So I'm going to go with actually Denis Tuiluilin. I wonder how many people are picking him, actually. Let me have a little look here. All on my own, I guess. I'm going to go with Denis Tuiluilin here. I've got a feeling about the underdog. I'm not just going to go favourites every card. You know what I mean? I've got a feeling about the underdog here. And I'm not going to ignore my hunch about the fight. We move on. Magomed Gadzhiyasulov versus Brendson Ribeiro. Now, the way I see this, dangerous motherfuckers, the pair of them. I think this is a pretty straightforward fight to predict. Dangerous motherfuckers. The pair of them. Nasty. Magomed's really, I would say a bit more technical on the feet. Okay? Whereas Brendson Ribeiro's kind of just sort of relied on the fact that he just had KO power, an 81-inch reach, you know, for a 6'3" guy. It's pretty insane. So he kind of got away with that, catching people at the end of his shots, beating up some fat jiu-jitsu guys on the Contender Series. And it kind of gives him a little bit of a... You know, I picked him in his last fight as well. I thought he was going to win his last fight. He actually got chinned by Chang. And I think this is what it's going to come down to. I believe that Ribeiro's just going to be out-chinned by Magomed Gadzhiyasulov, whatever his surname is. Now, he's also not as good on the feet. He may be, like, in times more dangerous, to be honest with you. Magomed's very dangerous himself, though. And he does have a ground game to him. But he's also very dangerous on the feet. I think he's a little bit more technical from the things that I've seen of him, but I think that makes sense because he has a way shorter reach. So he had to learn to be more technical. He can't get away with as much as Brendson Ribeiro can. But I think the end all be all of this fight is they're going to get scrappy. It's probably going to be a first round finish. One of them's never been finished, and the other one has 1, 2, 3... 4, 5 finished losses, and 3 of them have been by KO. His last 3 losses have been by KO, and he's coming off of a KO 4 months ago. And they're going to get wild in the first round looking for a finish. So I'm going to go with Magomed getting a TKO early. We move on. Up the card. Muin Gafurov versus Kang. Maybe I'm going to be alone on this one as well, but I'm going to go Kang here over Muin Gafurov. Maybe I'm off on this, but I've got another feeling about this matchup. I think Gafurov is like... Who invited this guy? You know what I mean? Like all the other Stanis, if you want to call them that, from all of the stands of the world. They're all in a group, and then... Oh, come on, man. Who invited Muin into the fucking picture? You know what I mean? There's all these other warriors and savages, and then Muin Gafurov's over there with his fat little muffin top in the corner. Like, I'm one of the guys as well, right? It's like Ilia Tapuria's little brother joining in on his fucking Instagram post. Like, what the fuck have you done? You know what I mean? Muin Gafurov, I just don't think is all that. I really don't. And Kang, you know, they both lost to John Castaneda. Not a good look at all. I think Kang's, you know, it is what it is. They both lost to John Castaneda. So we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel here for talent. But that word is very important here. Talent. I believe that Kang just has more fighting talent than Muin Gafurov. Muin Gafurov's good, but he's kind of just a little... Like, you aren't going to be anything with that body type. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it how it is. That little fat body type at bantamweight, like... Who are you? Like, who do you think you are, thinking that you can pull that shit off? He's on a 2-fight losing streak. His recent wins haven't even been all that, but he's had some good wins at LFA, had a couple KOs, a spinning back kick KO. Lost to Chad Anheliger on the Contender Series. I think that's an awful look. I think that's a terrible, terrible look. I think Kang, big guy for the bantamweight division, very long reach. He must have a massive reach advantage. Yeah, he's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage here over Muin Gafurov. He's got good takedown defense. He shows good takedown defense in his fights. He's finally being active again after some inactivity before. So I was like, okay, maybe this is just some older guy who's, getting by and split decisions against certain opponents. And, now he's just going to sort of have this career of fighting these absolute schmucks down the rankings, But I think I'm going to side with Kang Kang. I've been more impressed by him in his recent few performances than I have with Muin Gafurov. So, yeah. I'm going to go with him. I'm going to go with Kang Kang. I have a feeling that he's going to sting up Muin as the fight goes on. Maybe Muin will start swinging heavy and going for him and using all this big effort to get takedowns and swing these overhands. And then maybe Kang Kang's probably going to sting him at range with some good shots. I reckon I'll go Kang Kang. Light on the outside, way better at picking his shots, and maybe being better as the fight goes on. So I'm going to go 2-1, Kang Kang. Yeah, I just don't rate Muin Gafurov in any way. I don't see any talent out of him. Whereas Kang Kang, sometimes he does some shit where I'm like, okay, that's talent. That takes skill. Like what he did to Christian Quinones. God, I got Christian Rodriguez on my mind today. He must have a fight being signed soon or some shit. We move on. Up the card. Rinat Fakhretdinov versus Nicolas Dalby. Yeah, I'm going to go Rinat Fakhretdinov. I was going to lean towards maybe a Nicolas Dalby pick, honestly, but no, I'm going to go Rinat Fakhretdinov. I wanted to pick Dalby, but I rewatched his Gabriel Bonfirm fight, and I was like, that wasn't as impressive as I remember it. For some reason, I have this memory of the Gabriel Bonfirm fight that, Nicolas Dalby stuffed all of his takedowns and just beat him up and broke him on the feet. Like, no, that's not what happened. He got held down in the first round for the last half of it. Got held down, didn't do anything to get back up. And then round 2, he got held down again. He got back up, and eventually after he got back up, we started to see Gabriel Bonfirm fail and start to, system overdrive, shut down a little bit, overheating. Gassing out is the fucking word I'm looking for. System overdrive. What's wrong with me, man? Sorry. How do I think system overdrive before gas out? He started to gas out against Nicolas Dalby. And, anyway. I wasn't as impressive as I thought it was, because I was like, he still got held down by this guy, and Rinat Fakhretdinov is going to be able to hold you down. And the thing is about Rinat Fakhretdinov's style that makes it a little easier to hold fighters down, like we saw him do for pretty much the entire fight of his fight against Brian Battle, which is a very impressive win. The reason why he's able to hold them down is he's not going for mount straight away. He's not trying to get the arm triangle. He's not trying to go round and, scoot round the other side as they try and get up on a north-south to maybe set up a dash choke. Like, he has those moves. However, he's very understanding that I've done a lot of effort to get this guy down. I'm not going to now expend more effort giving him a jiu-jitsu scramble where I can risk him ending up back on his feet with his weirdly great conditioning all of a sudden. Because Nicolas Dalby's conditioning has been fucking insane. He goes crazy. But he's actually always had good conditioning. I guess we've just never really noticed it until the Bonfirm fight. But that was maybe more on the fact that Bonfirm was just expecting a finish and it never happened. Because that's what Bonfirm did. That's why I said Rinat Fakhretdinov, he doesn't chase these jiu-jitsu scrambles looking for a submission as much. Whereas Bonfirm was chasing submissions against Dalby, like being on top wasn't enough for him. He was like, I'm on top. Well, I got to get a finish real quick, so I need to set up this and set up that. And then Dalby was up. And he'd failed to get mount. And during the mount take, Dalby had gotten a hip, escape and found his way out the back and came back up on a double leg. Like it just became this scramble of desperation of Gabriel Bonfirm trying to get him out of there. Whereas Rinat Fakhretdinov, I think he'll be A-okay to just lay on top of Dalby, which if Bonfirm was more patient, he probably could have done as well. Because the only reason Dalby got back up was because Bonfirm was like, I need to get mount. You know what I mean? I need to set this up. I need to catch him as he gets back up in north-south position with this dash choke as he gets back up, and then Dalby would work his way back up. He'd fail the grip on the dash, and all of a sudden they're back on their feet, and Dalby's starting to beat the shit out of him. I think Rinat Fakhretdinov, way more proven than Gabriel Bonfirm as well. We didn't really know much about Gabriel Bonfirm, and I know a lot of people are going to point at the Zaleski dos Santos fight, but He got hurt once with a body kick. Outside of that, he kind of just backed him up the whole time. You know, Aliskerov had a decent second round, chopping low with kicks and going to the body as well. But outside of being hurt in the third, he would have just won that fight. And I know that is a part of it, and I can't just remove that. But he was out-grappling Aliskerov, which is very difficult to do. Very difficult to do. Out-grapple Aliskerov dos Santos. So, you know, I'm going to give him credit for a draw. I'll be honest with you. It's a weird one, isn't it? I'm going to give him credit. I thought that was a good Aliskerov that showed up. And he gave him some problems. But I don't think Dalby's going to give the same problems. I don't think he's got the same finishing potential on the feet. And I think that we're going to see Rinat be a lot more patient once he gets to takedown. And sort of stall it out a little bit, you know. A little bit of a boring one, but I think he'll be smarter about keeping his top position. We move on up the card. Nasrat Haqparast versus Jared Gordon. I'm going to go Nasrat Haqparast here over Jared Gordon. I think, and this is really annoying to me because the problem with Jared Gordon and Nasrat Haqparast is their existence changes my opinion on other fighters. Like, Jared Gordon made me think Bobby Green was kind of shit because he was just getting outstruck by Jared Gordon before what looked like intentionally fucking headbutting him, basically. And then you've got, you know, other opponent like Nasrat Haqparast where someone beats him and you think, oh my God, that person's back. And then they just go on to lose because, oh yeah, it's actually just Nasrat Haqparast. Maybe we shouldn't value a great win over Jamie Milaki as much. You know what I mean? So they're kind of a weird... And same with Bobby Green as well for the Nasrat fight. Oh, Bobby Green's great. He looked amazing. Wow. You know what I mean? And then... It's a weird one, dude. Both of these guys are in that similar position. I do just think he's better than Jared Gordon at boxing. And I don't think he's going to get taken down and held down in this fight because Jared Gordon's not really a guy who can just permanently hold you down, keep you there. Like, he will grapple and he might get one and then you work your way back up against the fence. But we never really seen absolute dominance from him in a grappling exchange, really. I reckon Nasrat's going to be able to stuff the takedowns. And if he does, he's coming off the first round TKO. And if he does get the takedown stuffed, I think he's going to have quite an easy time on the feet boxing. I think he's a lot more talented of a boxer than Jared Gordon. It looks like Jared Gordon's forcing a lot of things. And I know he's also coming off a first round TKO against Mark Madsen, but Mark Madsen can't fight. That's the problem. So I'm going to have to go with Nasrat Haqparast boxing up Jared Gordon as the fight goes on. Maybe he loses the first round and then starts to pick it up in the second and third is what I'll guess happens here. So yeah. Yeah, I'll go with Jared Gordon. No, I'll go with Nasrat Haqparast, sorry. Jesus, Nasrat Haqparast is going to get this one done. We move on. Up the card. Shara Magomedov versus Joilton Lutterbach. Honestly, I might go back to the old hairstyle because Shara is genuinely looking like old school guru right now. But more inbred, which is almost impossible. You got to go Shara Magomedov over Joilton Lutterbach. He's kind of like a sort of Indian variant of Brazilian. You know how they have different variants, you know what I mean? Not variant. I don't want to say variant, but, you know, they have, like, different niches of Brazilian. You know what I mean? You can clearly see where they're, you know, he's clearly an Indian one. Like, a bit of a Howley and Paver-esque Brazilian guy. Decorated guy on the regional scene. Needs to be mentioned. He's had a bunch of weird fights, like Karate Combat. He's been there. He's had some good finishes at Karate Combat as well. He's been in kickboxing matches, a long kickboxing record, Muay Thai record as well. Like, this dude is a very, very well-recorded martial artist. He lost to Dricus du Plessis once upon a time in KSW in London, my hometown. So he's been around. He's been at M1 Challenge. This guy has had a very long career. However, he is not a grappler. The only weakness we've really seen in Shara's game is that he can't really find his way off of bottom position a lot. And sometimes does accept bottom position a little bit too much. We saw that against Bruno Silva. Sometimes his hips are a little too square and easy to take down here and there. However, he was beating the shit out of Bruno Silva on the feet. And Silva had, like, no chance on the feet in that fight. Which, even if you think Bruno Silva he's looked shit recently, which he has. I don't know why he swings shots at half the pace he used to when he was fighting Pereira. Maybe Pereira really did take it out of him. But Shara was handling him on the feet. I like the stand-up. And I actually like the fact that if Shara wants a takedown, he can have it. I don't see this guy chinning Shara Magomedov. And if he's in the fight long enough to like be winning, I think Shara will mix up the game plan and start going for some takedowns instead. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Shara Magomedov. I think this is a no-brainer. The guy is a pretty dangerous striker, to be fair. So maybe there is some value on an underdog, but I just think it's silly to suggest that Shara would lose this one against a guy, especially coming in on short notice. You know, not often the most prepared of opponents. I'm going to find out if he actually had a fight coming up or anything like that, because I know this was supposed to be a different opponent here. No. He did. He had a boxing match coming up and a karate match before that. Do you know what I mean? This is what I'm saying about this guy. Like, listen, he's got a great striking background here, but he's not been doing the martial arts part, the mixed part of martial arts for quite some time. You know, he's done karate, boxing, modified rules, kickboxing. Dude hasn't had an MMA fight since April 2023. He won it, but like, he's not been trained. Like, he's been training for kickboxing fights. He's been training for boxing matches. He's been training for karate contests. Even if Shara doesn't win this on the feet, he can just have a scapegoat it's not a scapegoat, a way out, an escape route of just taking this to the ground and doing work there instead. So I'm going to go with Shara Magomedov. The only real way for Lutterbach to win is if he like suddenly KOs him, which would be epic. So I kind of want it to happen. So I'll pick against it. We move on. Up the card. Johnny Walker versus Volkan Oezdemir. Y'all know I'm picking Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker, I think, is a very underrated pick here. I'm joking. I'm not picking Johnny Walker again, dude. I'm done picking Johnny Walker. I know he beat Anthony Smith, but Anthony Smith shit. I know Anthony Smith beat Volkan Oezdemir, but Anthony Smith shit. You guys don't understand logic at light heavyweight, guys. Basically, yeah, every single fight's a fucking coin flip. No one really knows what's going to happen. KO power is utterly random. Some people get slept by jabs. Other people eat wheel kicks and take them like it's nothing. The whole sport is a myth. The whole sport is a gamble. The whole sport makes no sense. The winners at the top are merely just luckier than those at the bottom. Simple as that, really. So I'm going to go with Oezdemir. Just because you need to trust a chin at light heavyweight. That's all I'll say. You need to trust a chin at light heavyweight. And in the recent fights, Oezdemir's been in, actually, I'd say, rarely really good form. Rarely really good form, I would say. Because sometimes you see Oezdemir get some momentum together and then he loses it. But he beat Rakic, you know, he beat Latifi. The Rakic fight was a little bit of an interesting decision, I thought. But, you know, he has the win over him. Yeah, I actually thought Rakic clearly won that 2-1. That was a robbery, I think. Either way, he hung in there with Rakic on the feet for 3 rounds. Fought a bunch of opponents. But I think recent form beats Paul Craig pretty easily. Shuts down the takedowns, beats him up. Doesn't KO him, though, is what I'm worried about here. Doesn't KO Paul Craig in that fight. Do you understand what I'm saying? Magomed Ankalaev, though, doesn't get KO'd by him, but then has good low kicks in moments in that fight, but doesn't get a finish. You know, Nikita Krylov, you know, he lost a fight. He kind of got manhandled in the fight. He had some moments of success, but most of the time Krylov was just one step ahead of him. Didn't get finished, which is handy for him here. Bogdan Guskov won the fight. That's a great win now in hindsight. That was enough for me to say that Bogdan is just schmuck. So I guess I got to learn from that and think, no, that was actually a pretty good win from Volkan Oezdemir. Bogdan's a very dangerous dude, apparently. Just like, you have to pick against Johnny Walker, but like, he could win it at any time. And that's the most annoying thing about Johnny Walker. The problem I have with him is he has not been training martial arts as a human being. What Johnny Walker's been doing in the gym for the past few years is jumping around doing handstands and shit. And you just had Coach Kavanagh in the corner like, please, Johnny, please come hit the pads maybe. Perhaps we should learn that jab I spoke to you about 5 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, no. We've waited too long to learn how to jab. You know what I mean? You've been blessed on this planet being 6'6", 82.3 inches of reach, and being able to make light heavyweight. You've been blessed with those genetics, and you've chosen not to learn how to throw a fucking jab. And when it's time to low kick, you don't fucking do it. When it's time to be normal, you don't fucking do it. So I'm just going to go with Volkan Oezdemir, dude. I'm just going to go with Volkan Oezdemir. He probably chins Walker. Fucking Johnny Walker, dude. I want him to win. I root for Johnny Walker every time. But every fight, I'm like, when is this guy going to learn that he has fucking 5 inches longer arms than everyone else and he needs to jab a couple people with it? So athletic, so this, so that. None of the basics. All these years go by. The guy's still throwing punches. The guy can't throw a punch first. He just can't. If he throws a punch first, he just gets chinned. So he needs to like catch you in a weird entanglement where Craig's on a single leg against him and he's hammer fisting him in the face, or Ryan Span's fucking knocking him all over the place, but then Span is a dumbass, so he just fucking dives in on a leg and boom, hammer fists come out again. So I just don't see Oezdemir being in that weird spot. Paul Craig ends up in those spots with or without Johnny Walker. You know what I mean? Even the other guy that Johnny Walker finished, Ryan Span, will put himself in retarded positions with or without Johnny Walker. Oezdemir stays very composed in fights. He got a little bit of shit scared of Yuri, but no one really knew who Yuri was then. So he should have been shit scared of him. He still wobbled him in the first round. He's wobbling Yuri in the first round. He's wobbled other opponents in the first round. I reckon he's going to put away Johnny Walker. I think he puts him away. TKO and finishes him. Finishes him. I'm going to go with Volkan Oezdemir. TKO. Also wobbled Guskov in their fight as well, early. Like, Walker's a bit taller, I get it, but I reckon Ozdemir's going to come out there with a low kick heavy game plan and then just sort of catch Walker, like, trying to do some dumb shit. Like, you know what I can actually see right here? I can see Walker, yeah, taking too long to set up a tie clinch at one point. Tie clinching up with Oezdemir and then just getting punched in the head and probably chinned while he's got the tie clinch. I could see some random shit like that. So I'm going to go Volkan Oezdemir. I just can't trust Johnny Walker anymore, unfortunately. We move on. Up the card, Mohamed Naimov versus Felipe Lima. Now, this is actually a pretty interesting matchup. I'm going to go with Naimov because I'm convinced this dude's on the sauce. Other than that, though, he should just beat Lima. Listen, I'm not a fan of Naimov, dude. So I might just pray and hope this guy dies. Not dies. Oh, sorry. Haven't eaten anything, so I'm burping. Naimov's career is kind of a sham. You know, the leg injury that Eric Silva got against him. I farted. And Nathaniel Wood beats him in their fight. Should have won, but the guy, Naimov, cheated like 6 times in Abu Dhabi, so they don't take any points away because he's Muslim. I get it. Ankalaev illegally needs Johnny Walker. No contest all of a sudden. Where's Jan's belt then? You know what I mean? This type of shit. It happens in Abu Dhabi a lot. You know, Khabib doesn't make weight against Gaethje. First time ever we see a rigged set of scales for a fighter. So there's a lot of privileges in Abu Dhabi for them. I get that. But shouldn't have had the win against Nathaniel Wood. Still what rocked him in the first round, though. This is the point I'm going to make about Naimov. Still rocked him in the first round. Still looked dangerous against Eric Silva. Although there's an asterisk in every single one of his wins, he's still catching him and like nearly smoking him, even if he isn't just smoking him. You know what I mean? Jamie Mullarkey puts him out in the second round. He took that fight on short notice up a weight class at lightweight. And he's smoking Jamie Mullarkey at lightweight as a featherweight moving up. A big featherweight, that is, as well. He's fought Nathaniel Wood, who's a bantamweight moving up. Eric Silva. And now he's fighting another bantamweight moving up. But this time, Wood was a bantamweight that had built himself into a featherweight, even though he is quite small still. Felipe Lima's a bantamweight. And he's not prepared for featherweight. And his last weigh-in was at 134 pounds. And that was quite some time ago as well. He's been out for 11 months. He was supposed to be fighting a month after this. Let me see that cancelled bout. That was at 135 pounds for a bantamweight championship. He was supposed to be fighting Jonas Magard, a challenger from Denmark, from Manchester top team. I don't like that. I think he's going to be a little bit too undersized. He's very good. He's very technical, but not much finishing potential in any of his fights. He's going to get bombarded by Naimov, who's a massive featherweight who's going to chin him. And maybe cheat if he needs to. Never hold it. Never hold it against him, dude. Jones cheated every single fight. He's called the GOAT amongst the world. TJ Dillashaw cheated once. No one cares about his legacy at all. But, you know, different strokes for different folks. Naimov just, you know, if you cheat, you cheat. Cheaters are triers, in my opinion. So I got no time for a fighter who ain't willing to cheat if they need a win. So I'm going to go with Naimov. Cheaters win. We move on. Up the card. Kelvin Gastelum versus Daniel Rodriguez. Kelvin, man. Kelvin, you fucking overachiever, you bastard little fat cunt. Oh, God, dude. It's so unfortunate sometimes with Kelvin, man. Very unfortunate. Because I thought he looked really good against Chris Curtis early on in their fight. And he did beat Chris Curtis in their fight. It was a bit to do with a head clash. He did go 5 hard rounds with Jared Cannonier. He went 5 rounds with Whittaker. I know he got beaten up in that fight, but he went 5 rounds with Whittaker. Went to a split decision with Darren Till. Went to that decision with Adesanya where he had a scrap. And I know it's easy to just write him off and say, that's it, he's done. But D-Rod ain't going to shoot no takedowns. But does Kelvin have the boxing to keep up with him? Could Kelvin just chew up his legs? Losing to Neil Magny in 2022 is not a good look. But Kelvin's not going to shoot any takedowns. Fuck, man. Kelvin ain't Kevin Lee, though. You know what I mean? He's a little better than that. He's a little bigger than that as well. He ain't no Preston Parsons either. That's the only TKO D-Rod has in his recent UFC career. Ooh. He's been out for a long time, D-Rod. He pulled out of a fight with Ponzinibbio due to an injury. Let me find out if that's true. Rodriguez tested positive for Osterine. Okay. Whoa, we're picking him. Sorry, Kelvin, it's over, buddy. I'm joking now. It was tested, tainted supplement, apparently. He's back. He hasn't fought in over a year. And he's coming in there against Kelvin Gastelum, who no doubt is going to be looking to start fast and sort of go for it early. He's only 32. It's going to be his second attempt at 170, which is always going to be better than the first one. See, I'd love to hold the Brady loss against him, but I think that like D-Rod might lose in the first or second against Brady. And the guy went 5 rounds with Jared Cannonier. And did really, really well in the first round against Chris Curtis. I nearly said Christian Rodriguez again. I'm going to go with Kelvin Gastelum over D-Rod. Yeah. I know, D-Rod's striking against Neil Magny in moments was like jab, jab, 2, jab, jab, 2. It was really lousy looking striking. I reckon Kelvin might grapple a bit here. He'd be silly not to, wouldn't he? Mix in the grappling a bit. D-Rod's an older fighter, a much older fighter. 37 years of age. He's going to have a reach advantage here over Kelvin. Who are the people that D-Rod is exposed on the feet, really? Preston Parsons, not Kelvin's level of stand-up. Dwight Grant, not Kelvin's level of stand-up. And he nearly got finished badly himself in that fight. Let's not forget. He got really badly beaten up by Dwight Grant and then came from behind to get a TKO. Went tit for tat with Dalby. Arguably should have won. Kind of got robbed. Beat up on Tim Means and choked him out. I don't see anyone that's really Kelvin's level. I'm going to go Kelvin Gastelum here. Is he an underdog? I wonder if he's an underdog here. He might be. I'd like it if he was. He's a fucking favourite. Fuck off! Why is he a big favourite, man? That should be an underdog pick. And you hate that shit, guys? And you hate that shit, man, when you think you're picking an underdog and then you get just, oh, now all of a sudden I'm expected to get this right, huh? Fuck, man. I'll go Kelvin. So what underdogs do I have? I've got Kang Ho Kang as an underdog. I've got Chang Ho Lee as an underdog. Okay, I'll take it. That's easy right there. Okay. No underdog. Nasrat's a big favourite, huh? Oezdemir, Walker, evens. It makes sense. I'll go Oezdemir. Yeah, okay. Moving on. I'm going with Kelvin Gastelum, and I'll say by decision. You know what? I could say a rear naked choke as well. I think Kelvin's got a pretty underrated ground game. So I'm going to go with maybe he mixes it up a little bit. Gets the grappling going. We move on. Tybura versus Volkov. Now, I've been really, really having a problem because I wanted to pick Volkov. I've got a real feeling that Volkov's going to win, but I know he's not going to. You know, one of them ones there. where it's definitely going to happen when I don't pick him. But if I do pick him, it will. It'll definitely not happen if I do pick him. But if I don't pick him, it definitely will happen. Because that's how MMA predicting works. Whatever you pick, it won't happen. I don't know how that applies to everyone in the world at the same time. It sounds actually quite scientifically impossible, but it still feels the same. It's always the underdogs you don't end up picking that get it done. No, I'll have to go Sergei. I like the time off that he's taken since the Tom Aspinall loss. You know? Little bit off. Just over 7 months off. That's good. It's not too long either. It's not like he took off a year. And now he's going back in there against Volkov. The problem with Volkov's game is, Sergei Pavlovich plods forward. Like, he's very ploddy as a heavyweight. And I know against Aspinall, it's easy to look ploddy. Volkov looked the same. So maybe I'm overlooking things that way. But I feel like when Volkov's got someone not scooting around outside him, he actually does awesomely well. Like, really awesomely well against people that aren't shifting around on the outside all the time. And I'm wondering if that trend is going to carry him to being able to beat a Sergei Pavlovich. But I don't know if it is, man. Because the thing is with Volkov, he does a lot of tucking his chin. But because he's so tall, he still gets hit by these shots. And Pavlovich is good at throwing shots over the top of things. You know, we saw it against Maurice Green. He threw that 1-2 over the top, put him down. First round finish. Sergei is good. Sometimes he doesn't look the best, though. You know, against Shamil Abdurakhimov, what did it take him till like a minute left in the first round to land that shot? I'm going through a lot of thought processes a bit more now on camera because I'm questioning myself in the middle of prediction videos a bit more. Because normally I used to do it all beforehand and then just say it all in the prediction video. And then even if I thought something, I wouldn't even say it because it kind of went against my pick in a way. But now I'm starting to psychoanalyze some of my picks that I'm doing. So how did Pavlovich do against Shamil again? Because I thought that was not really much happening. But maybe that's... The thing is, though, that's probably a Pavlovich just like, there's going to be a takedown. Let me wait for it, and then I'll finish him. You know what I mean? And then what do you know? There was a takedown. He waited for it, he stuffed it, and then he finished him. So, it's tough. All of Pavlovich's shots are to the head. And that's something we notice about him quite a bit. You know, what did he do against Maurice Green? Did he mix it up? 100% to the head against Maurice Green. What about Derek Lewis? Did he mix it up? 100% to the head. Tuivasa, did he mix it up? 100% to the head. Curtis Blades, did he mix it up? Okay, we'll do a couple shots to the body here. I think the body's going to be the thing to go for here if you're Pavlovich. I'm going to trust in Pavlovich. The reach that he has, 84 inches of reach. Dude, Volkov's fucking hard to KO, man. He's so hard to KO, especially now that he's Swolkov. He's so hard to KO, man. And he's so good at kicking against people that plod forwards at him. Off his lead leg. He kicks with a body kick with it. To the legs with it. He goes front snap kick to the body. Finished Walt Harris with that. He's had nasty finishes elsewhere with that. And the only real time he's looked bad is if there's a grappling threat against him. Other than against Derek Lewis. Where he did just beat the shit out of him and then get caught by one punch. Because he wanted to invest in a fucking lead low kick with 10 seconds to go in the third round. Fucking dummy. Fuck, man. I didn't even know that. Do you know that Aspinall outstruck Pavlovich 10-1? I know it was probably like 5-1 before the finishing follow-up shots, but still, he only landed one shot on Aspinall. But then again, Volkov doesn't move like Aspinall. You know what? I'm going to go Pavlovich over Volkov. Because I'll be more annoyed if I pick against Pavlovich and he wins. Because then I'll be like, of course. Whereas if Volkov wins, I'll be like, you know what? I could see it coming. You know, I'm starting to think how emotionally I'll feel after these. Maybe that's what I should base it on a bit more. I'm going to go with Pavlovich over Volkov, I think. I reckon he'll be able to catch him on the feet. Jabs. I think he'll go to the body a bit more as well. And the thing is with Volkov that we see quite a bit from him is he does a lot of like backing up against the cage and then just sort of staying there and shelling up, waiting for the onslaught to stop. I could see that getting him finished against Pavlovich. If he's doing good at range, flicking his kicks out there, and then Pavlovich gets him against a cage at some point, we are going to just see him lift his lead leg up that he does all the time and just hunch over at these shots. And that's where I can see Pavlovich finding like an uppercut, like a long shovel uppercut on him as he's hunched over or something like that. So I'm going to actually go with Sergei Pavlovich. But do not be surprised if Volkov wins. I think this should be a much closer fight in terms of the odds. So he's a live underdog in my opinion. But I'm going to go with Pavlovich. We move on. Whittaker versus Aliskerov. I'm going Aliskerov, dude. Now I'm going to go with Whittaker. I've been watching a lot of Aliskerov fights, and I'm starting to think, okay, not that good. You know what I mean? Not that good. Good. Third round with Tuiluilin. If you're going to sleep Whittaker, please, on like just before you get to the UFC, can you sleep Tuiluilin? You know what I mean? This is where I'm annoyed about Aliskerov, because if he does sleep Whittaker, it will completely tarnish my opinion of Whittaker as a fighter. And that annoys me. And that's why I'm annoyed about this fight being made anyway. I hate fights where I can't still praise the loser if I like them. That's what I hate. If he lost to Chimaev, if Whittaker lost to Chimaev, it would have been like, dude, he put up a hell of a fight though, dude. Those scrambles, huh? And he just gets chinned in the second round. I'd be like, you know what? He was expecting a takedown. He stuffed all the takedowns and just got chinned. Oh, well. But now it's like, if he loses this, I have to completely rewrite how I perceive Whittaker in the history of the middleweight division. That's my opinion here. So maybe I'm getting so schizo about it, it's bound to happen just to piss me off. But, dude, this ain't Wale Alves. It's not. This ain't Phil Hawes, chinniest fighter in middleweight history. Whittaker's up there with the chin, don't get me wrong, but I think he takes shots a bit better than people give him credit for, dude. He took a clean hook off Cannonier right at the tip of the jaw, wobbled a bit, but stayed in the fight. You know what I mean? And then there's other moments where he gets wheel kicked by Costa, wobbles a bit, but stuck in there and threw back straight away, trying to get credit. I think that's the same attitude that Whittaker's going to have to this training camp, where it's like, I'm ready for a scrap. There's certain fights here where Whittaker... Oh, what was I thinking about yesterday? Whittaker has two different fight modes. And I can't remember what ones they are. He has a lackadaisical fight mode, and then he has a I'm going to hurt you fight mode. There's two different versions of Whittaker. During the Kelvin fight, you know what? Yeah, I'll say this right now. A competitive fight makes Whittaker a little more dangerous in moments, you know? Like against Vettori, when the first round got a bit tricky for him, he started dominating the last ones. Kelvin, he dominated the rounds, but he just sort of cruise controlled it, stayed ahead the whole time. There was no need for him to do anything more. Even against Darren Till, I have a feeling that he just knew he was ahead, because Darren Till was just okay with losing as long as it's close. It's a weird one, right? But I just feel like sometimes with Whittaker, he goes out there, I don't know, hesitant, nervous, gets clipped. You don't normally see the same side of him. There's the type of Whittaker, yeah, in certain matchups where he's really strongly push-kicking people in the stomach. He did this to Romero, to Vettori, to Kelvin, to Costa in moments. Not so much Kelvin. I'll tell you why. There's the type of Whittaker that really heavily push-kicks people in the stomach. Ooh, pushes them back with a front kick to the stomach. And then there's the type of fight where Whittaker is flicking out his lead leg to try and catch them with a teep as they come in. Or like shifting away and side kicking as he does it. I think it's just pressure versus no pressure. I just don't see Ikram finishing him in the first round. If Ikram couldn't finish in the first round, Nashon Burrell, who's just a black guy from America, Henzo Gracie guy, decision loss to Ikram, you know what I mean? I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I think you should be able to finish this level of opponent if you're going to finish Whittaker. Because with Ikram, it's not like I'm looking at his regional scene and saying, and you guys can say, well, people evolve. Yeah, they do evolve, but this was last year nearly. You know? I mean, it's like 2 years ago. Like, this not far off. He's 31. Yeah, I mean, he's been doing this since 2012 as a pro. So he's been around for... This isn't like Ikram Aliskerov has only just burst onto the scene. He's been a pro. He had a pro fight in 2012. He's been a pro fighter since 12 years ago. For 12 years, he's been a pro fighter. So he's been a pro fighter his whole life as an adult. Pretty much, right? Because he was 19 when he made his debut. So You could say, oh, improvements, though. What if he makes improvements? Dude, Diego Gonzalez to the 3rd round. Denis Tuiluilin to the 3rd round. Who's the other guy, the Viking that he fought? Chad Hannacum he fought on the regional scene. To a split decision. That's not that long ago for him. You go back to Whittaker, that long ago for Whittaker, and by the way, they're about the same age. Whittaker's a little older than him, like a year and a half older. If you go back that long ago for Whittaker's career, you see, oh yeah, that's when he beat Ribeiro. Or oh, that's when he beat Jacare and finished him in the 1st round. They've been under different heat in their career. This is going to be, I think, a big step up for Ikram. Can he get it done? Maybe. Could he chin Whittaker? Of course, Whittaker can be chinned. But I don't think it happens. I don't think it happens. And when you watch back the Ikram Aliskerov versus Phil Hawes fight, you can see it coming. If you don't know, I actually made a 2nd channel video on Ikram's performance there. Because Phil Hawes kept parrying with his lead and like leaning back into his right. So Ikram knew to just blast the 1-2 down the pipe and throw the right hand where he sort of traced the right hand where Phil Hawes' head was going to be. And then Phil Hawes just got slept by it pretty much. I think it was actually Phil Hawes tracing back into his left. He kept doing the same thing over and over again. I remember breaking it down. Whittaker doesn't do that. He doesn't make the same shitty mistake over and over again. I can see Whittaker stomping on his legs a bit, teeping him to the body a little bit, landing a couple jabs as he crashes in, Ikram missing a few times over the top. Maybe Ikram trying to do work in the clinch. Maybe Ikram hits him with a knee to the body and an elbow in the clinch and tries to rough him up there. But I think if that's where his method of success for striking and damage is going to be, in the clinch, that's going to lead to a little bit more of a grappling-heavy game. And if he does grapple with Whittaker, I think it'll actually be a negative for him. I think he should go out there like a sharp shooter, trying to catch Whittaker on the chin by TKO. I think if he goes out there like, oh, I'm going to smash him. This guy's just done a full training camp for Khamzat Chimaev. He's got some of the best takedown defense in the sport. I reckon that'll be even more of a problem for Ikram. So I am going to go with Whittaker. I believe in Whittaker here. If he loses, it will change my entire opinion on MMA. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe Ikram pulls it off. Maybe he makes Whittaker look worse than Denis Tuiluilin. I don't know. I don't fucking know anymore, dude. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye.